denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and finally, acceptance. When I say these words, what do they make you think of? Yeah, me too. Who knew this piece of shit had so much in common with the stages of grief? You got denial that the thing you once loved is gone, anger and bargaining when Sticker Star rolls around, and then the depression hits. And, well, now I guess we're on acceptance, right? And you know what? I feel that word acceptance is a pretty good way to describe where the Paper Mario fanbase is at this point. You see, after Color Splash's launch and the tone-deaf developer interviews that followed, any ounce of hope that remained for Nintendo to backpedal on this new direction for Paper Mario was gone. The quirky and unique RPG series that we all fell in love with was truly dead. Seemingly no amount of petitions, angry comments, or just straight up low sales were going to change that. All that was left to do now was to just accept that. And accept it we did, because in 2020, when a new Paper Mario was announced out of nowhere that was seemingly just Sticker Star 3, instead of responding with the same vitriol that the last game received, the response to this announcement was a resounding, huh. I mean, like I said, we had all basically accepted that this is just the way things are now. No use fighting it. Daddy ain't coming back, champ. And honestly, I think a lot of people were genuinely excited for this one. I mean, not that that's saying much, people are kind of desperate for anything to get excited for back then. But regardless, this was the first time in basically a decade that the conversation surrounding Paper Mario wasn't filled with hatred and negativity. It was filled with some excitement and a refreshing amount of positivity. I mean, yeah, this was far from what we actually wanted, but there were definite signs that Nintendo was at least kind of listening. This announcement trailer showed off partners, original villains, what looked to be an interesting premise, and unique locations to explore. All things fans were begging Nintendo to bring back. But was all this positivity and excitement warranted? Is this game actually a step in the right direction? I mean, if you have 15 minutes to spare, we can find out together. Alright, so, title screen. Yeah, this shit didn't need to go this hard. So, we start with Mario and Luigi driving to some origami festival. Damn, it's looking like my childhood birthday parties. So, Peach is a zombie, Bowser's in my sex dungeon, and... This right here is when I started to get really excited about this game. An actual original villain, not just Bowser or Bowser with a literal new coat of paint. It's a brand new fucking scoundrel for us to chase down. The Origami King starts strong, like really strong. The whole premise of this new villain named Ollie turning the entire Mushroom Kingdom into an army of mindless origami soldiers is a massive step up from the previous two game story of, uh-oh, Bowser kidnapped your girl. Hopefully it can keep this up, and it does. Moving on to the first area of the game, you got this forest filled with these talking trees that whisper about you and they sing like... Sticker Star would have had this whole area be just a forest with a bunch of fucking toads wearing a Die Heart Tree shirts. But no, here's an area filled with this unique species of tree people, and there's all these cool set pieces, and oh, Paper Mario is fucking back, baby! But actually, it's not. Delving a bit deeper, you'll quickly realize that this isn't some grand return to the series' roots. No, it's completely the opposite. Paper Mario: The Origami King represents yet another shift in direction for the franchise, and reveals a bit of a pattern that's been developing. You see, Paper Mario isn't just one thing. It's a playground or a crafts table. A crafts table where the developers are free to introduce a concept, refine that concept if need be, and then move on. It's happened time and time again. Paper Mario isn't an RPG, it isn't a platformer. It's whatever the developers want it to be. Unlike other franchises which attempt to iterate on the same pre-established conventions game after game, once Paper Mario perfects something in the eyes of its developers, they move on. Is this a perfect approach to game design? Hell no! But it at least keeps things fresh for both the developers working on the games as well as the people playing them. The last big shift for the franchise was back in 2012 with Paper Mario Sticker Star. That game introduced a controversial shift to a single-use attack battle system, and in the eyes of Nintendo and Intelligent Systems, Color Splash took that idea to its natural conclusion, which meant it was time for yet another change. Now, the Origami King is without a doubt cut from the same cloth as Sticker Star. That much is obvious from the moment you boot up the game. It just has that Sticker Star vibe going on, you know, with the look and feel and ugh. At first glance, yeah, this is just Sticker Star 3. But then you get to your first battle. Ring battles are the new big gimmick this time around. Basically, you shift around 4 rings to line up enemies in either a straight line or a square to defeat them all in one go. It's honestly an extremely unique concept for a battle system that really sets this game apart from its predecessors, and so far, I like it. And now I hate it. Oh, they got their fucking sticker gunk all over this shit too. While the concept of these battles are undeniably more interesting than the previous 2 games, they're still just as tedious. The lack of any meaningful rewards, such as experience, upgrades, or literally anything else, makes each battle feel completely devoid of purpose. I mean, yeah, you get coins, but just like with Sticker Star and Color Splash, coins are littered all over the overworld, so like, thanks. Coins do at least serve some purpose in battles, allowing you to buy more time or even just pay to have the gameplay itself. Wow. But still, this doesn't at all justify the complete lack of any other substantial rewards in battles. That's not to say it's all bad, though. In moderation, the ring-based battles still provide a refreshing twist to the genre. This system allows each battle to be a lot more dynamic and requires both critical thinking and quick decision making, which adds a layer of depth that you don't tend to see in turn-based games like this. I honestly can't stress enough how satisfying it feels to finally arrange the enemies perfectly and take them all out in a single turn. And this is all amplified by the incredible music and sound design, which dynamically changes depending on the area you're in and what's happening in the battles. It's all really great stuff. Then there's the boss fights, which puts a unique spin on the whole thing. Here, you have to maneuver Mario to the boss in the center of the ring while avoiding obstacles and enabling switches. Honestly, I enjoy these quite a bit more than the normal battles. They're a ton of fun. However, the issue is how frequent battles can be and how they're utilized. Battles quickly begin to feel more like punishments rather than organic encounters. You're constantly thrown into a battle each time you mess up. It quickly goes from, "Oh, cool, another battle," to, "Oh, I f***ed up and I have to do another one of these." They exist solely as roadblocks or hurdles to get in your way. I mean, the developers even admitted to this in an old Game Informer interview. Now, this was an issue in the previous 2 entries as well. However, the problem is made even worse here due to these battles taking so much longer than Sticker Star and Color Splashes. In those games, spamming attacks tended to end battles fairly quickly. You didn't really need to think about it, it was very mindless. But here, like I said before, battles sometimes require some pretty heavy strategic thinking. This increased complexity results in battles that tend to overstay their welcome more often than not, when all you're trying to do is get to the end of this goddamn fucking volcano. In turn-based games like this, battles typically act as the focal point of the entire experience. However, when the battles also serve as the primary form of punishment, it creates a problem. Games are meant to be enjoyable, right? And punishments within games tend to detract from that enjoyment. So basically, the main draw of fun in this game also acts as the main detractor of fun. Do you see the problem here? The reason this is such an issue is because everything else in the Origami King really is that amazing. And it sucks being constantly torn away from that. The world is vast and interconnected this time, and encourages exploration with various toads and gags hidden everywhere. Then you'll encounter various travel companions, each with their own character arcs, such as a professor, Kamek, or Bobby the Bob-omb. Oh god, I would f***ing die for this little guy. Also Olivia. Big fan. This all addresses most of the shortcomings the previous 2 games had, offering a more immersive experience that fills in a lot of the gaps that Sticker Star and Color Splash had. It's all these aspects that make it all the more disappointing to be constantly drawn away from it by all these battles. And they knew this shit would get old too, because to break up the monotony, whenever you get to a mini boss, instead of sucking you out of the action like all the other encounters do, these take a more traditional approach, highlighting the disparity between the 2 types of battles. These traditional mini-boss fights just flow so much better with the rest of the game, providing a more enjoyable and cohesive experience. A better balance could have been achieved by just having most of the battles be like this, and then reserve the lengthier ring-based puzzle battles for the more significant encounters, like boss fights. This kind of approach really would have gone a long way in alleviating how tedious ring battles become, and would have helped maintain a better flow with the overworld exploration. Which, that's really what it all boils down to. Flow, or a lack thereof. Paper Mario: The Origami King has all of these really great ideas packed into it, some of which come pretty close to capturing what made the earlier entries so beloved. The unique battle system, the colorful environments, the quirky humor, partner characters, each of these elements on their own are really solid. But when they all come together, it doesn't really mesh well. Overworld exploration is fun, but battles are constantly getting in the way of that. But at the same time, those battles are pretty engaging in their own right, but serve no purpose outside of functioning as literal roadblocks. Then there's the partner characters, which provide some pretty funny banter in the overworld, but in battle, they just kinda... yeah. Everything here feels so segmented. There's no sense of cohesion. Just a lot of ideas. Some interesting, some half-baked, all shoved into a package for $60. But you know what? For the Paper Mario fanbase, that might just be good enough at this point. While the Origami King isn't at all what fans wanted or asked for, it's also not a complete abomination like its predecessors were. While yeah, the final package is a bit of a mixed bag, there's still obvious signs here that Nintendo is listening and willing to at least compromise? Like, it's blatantly obvious at this point that Nintendo's vision for Paper Mario doesn't match ours at all. Nintendo would rather the series be a more casual-focused experience that's constantly evolving and surprising players with new gameplay elements and mechanics, while longtime fans want a more core experience with much more complexity and depth. Nintendo obviously isn't willing to budge on their vision, but they still don't want us core fans feeling left out, so this is what we got. Yet another evolution to the Paper Mario formula that, while still far from what fans wanted, still includes some elements that we've been asking for. The interconnected overworld, original villain, partner characters, and plot are all signs that Nintendo is definitely acknowledging fans and making an effort to create a game that they can enjoy as well. But the fact of the matter is, the Paper Mario we all truly want is long dead. No amount of denial, anger, bargaining, or depression is going to change that. I mean, come on. You've all seen the interviews. There'd have to be some pretty big shakeups in the upper management at Nintendo for that to change at this point. But still, you can't deny that the Origami King represents a huge step in the right direction, and I'm genuinely excited to see where Nintendo takes the series next. Which, like it or not, all signs are pointing to this ever-evolving direction for Paper Mario being here to stay. So, all we can really do now is approach each game with an open mind and accept that.